And joining us now in our Lagos studio is Funmilayo Ajanaku, the manager, Mana Children's Center at Lekki, to discuss the World Autism Awareness Day 2019. Good afternoon, ma.
Good afternoon.
Now, we know that today worldwide, everyone is pushing and wearing blue. But to what extent do we expect that Nigeria, as a member of the United Nations, also raises this awareness towards people with ASD and ensure that we put steps in order to have this work out? Because if the theme is assistive technologies to ensure that we have active participation, Nigeria should be certain measures in place to ensure that we can actually make this a reality.
Yes, indeed. I think the first thing is that we have to understand that there is a lot of legislation when it comes to neurotypical children. They all have to go to school, but that doesn't extend to children with disabilities. So you find that children with disabilities end up at the back of the entire nation in a way. They're left behind, they fall between the cracks. So first we need government participation, not just financially, but even to put laws in place that makes families who have children with disabilities know that they must access education in whatever form that they can. And also we know that it is an expensive thing, because for instance at Mana Children's Center I have 10, 11 children, I have 20 plus staff. So it's an expensive thing. So when people who cannot afford this kind of education come to me, they immediately tell me, I cannot afford this. And so we need to have in place centers that are really supported by government and even by public-private partnerships, where they're helping to ensure that children who are living with disabilities are going to school, or children with autism, or any type of disabilities at that they're accessing education and accessing centers where they can be helped as well. That, I think, is the first thing that needs to happen.
And let's also talk about the family unit. Now, we know that in certain instances, resources are so scarce that it almost pushes the family to the point where these children are marginalized or left behind, either because of social or cultural reasons. But to what extent do we have to now change the narrative, begin to understand that autism spectrum disorder, irrespective of what manner it comes up, these are not children that are cursed or are supposed to be labeled all sorts of evil names?
Yes, indeed. I think those of us who work with children with special needs or children with autism, we realize very, very early that this is not a curse. The way I see it is that the tapestry of God's creation is really very, very varied. Different colors, different types, different people with different abilities. So with autistic children, you have low functioning children, you have high functioning children, and you have savants. So when we talk about savants, we talk about people who have an ability to do something extremely well. But then we also have the low functioning ones. But even those ones, they have an ability to do certain things, things that we can't do. They're able to really focus in on a task. So there are many tasks that our children can do, our children with autism can do, that you would find very boring or very tedious. So the thing is to find those skills that they have. So we spend time doing that, looking for those skills, then teaching them, helping them to hone those skills so that they can use those skills to do something, to eventually make money or to be a part of society. And
would you be part of those who would call that now we have to have, yes, we're calling for all children with some level of disability, I don't like to use the word disability, but with disabilities that at our schools, when we are talking about mainstreaming these children within the educational sector, having them included, we should also have special tutors who would have the curriculum set and understand these children and cater to the needs as well, be it public or private schools. We must fill in these gaps, and training is the only way to do so. I
believe that inclusion works. I think inclusion works for some children, but inclusion doesn't work for every child. I think that everybody must know their child. Will the inclusion work for this child? Won't it? So that's why we have schools that believe in inclusion, and we'll have centers. So really, special needs or children living with disabilities, there really is choice. So if inclusion is going to work for that child, then the school must cater to children their children that have any type of disabilities. You cannot expect to just put them in a classroom and expect one teacher or two children to help all the children. So you must learn how to differentiate. You must learn how to help your children with whatever special needs that they have. So inclusion does work, but centers also exist.
And what to word to any child who has autism today and is going to be the next adult tomorrow, 10, 15 years from now, what message would you be telling him?
You have to start planning for that future today. Okay. Whatever future you have, you must start working towards it today. Families must help them work towards it today. There is really a diagnosis, but there's a prognosis. You can actually work to ensure that the prognosis is different. And so if they tell you, this child will never do this, do not believe that prognosis. Begin early intervention. The earlier you start to intervene with therapy, speech therapy, with occupational therapy, with even functional academics, the earlier you start to do it, the more likely you have a better prognosis for the future. So take the diagnosis and begin to actively intervene to ensure a prognosis that works for that child, because you will not always be around.
Thank you very much for your time.
I think that's
it's been a pleasure speaking with you from Funmilayo Ajanaku. And hopefully all children with autism would have a reason to smile sometime soon when a cure comes through.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.